We have our first panel, our first session at 8:50 or so. I want to welcome you all to the Smart Kitchen Summit. My name is Michael Wolf. I'm the creator and curator of the summit, and I'm very excited to have you guys here. Welcome to Seattle. Yeah. You know, I'm so excited about the day to share all the content that we have for you today. Over the last 6 months, we put in a lot of hard work, and people have asked me this question over and over: why did you create a Smart Kitchen Summit, this focused event on the kitchen? And the answer is quite simple. I wanted to create an event that I thought for the first time brought everyone together from the appliance space, white goods, culinary, fitness and health, smart home, IoT. Because quite honestly, I look at a lot of tech events, and I hadn't seen an event that really brought everyone together. And so I thought that was kind of strange that hadn't happened, but it also, to me, it presented a wonderful opportunity to do that. Because after all, I feel like I'm a guy who's been following the connected home. I have some gray hair now for 15 years. And it's a market that's interesting, but I still feel very much so that the kitchen is the central room in the house. It's the most important room. It's where we gather with our families. It's where we have company. It's where we break bread. And it's where we find sustenance. And so it's a very important room. But if you look at it from a technology perspective, it feels like it's kind of been left a little bit behind. And I know this as someone who follows the connected home, because I've been following the digital living room for quite some time. And I think that's been the central battlefront that tech blogs and print publications have spent the last decade writing about. But it's been a good market. It's given us names that we haven't heard of before. 10 years ago, no one had heard of Netflix. No one had heard of Roku. No one had heard of Vizio. If you brought it into digital entertainment, no one had heard of Sonos. But now they're household names. I think one forecast has the over-the-top video market at about a $50 billion market. That's a massive disruption opportunity. It's a huge market. But to put this in a context, the packaged food industry is I think it's forecast in 2020 to be a $2 trillion market. I've heard estimates that roughly 1/3 of all food is thrown away. So if we do the math, we throw away about 6 total marketplaces for online video away in food per year. And I don't know about you guys, but in my household, we probably throw away, unfortunately, I feel guilty about this, about 6 or 7 Netflixes per month in terms of food waste. And I feel like technology is a great opportunity to address important issues like that, but also just simple things like how we can all become better cooks, how we can find replenishables and source food better, how we can brew beer and make tea at home. All that, I think, with new technology will be a massive opportunity for disruption over the next decade. So I'm excited. If you guys have looked at the agenda, that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm very happy to introduce our Master of Ceremonies. I don't know if you guys know Chris Albrecht. You may know him from Gig Home. He's a good friend of mine. He moved to Seattle. I said, Chris, you got to be our MC today. He's going to be the guy running up and down on stage, introducing us and the panelists. And so I'm going to welcome Chris Albrecht on stage to say hi and do a little bit of housekeeping. And then I'll be right back.
Thank you, Mike. I think we've got a wonderful day planned. I'm very excited to hear what everybody here has to say. And you're not here to listen to me, so I'm just going to keep things moving with just a few housekeeping kinds of things. First thing, I know you have your phones on. Please, I know I'm not going to ask you to turn them off because that would be impossible. But if you could mute them, that would be great. I don't care if Alexa is calling you to update you on your thermostat. We can mute that down a little bit and just set it on vibrate. We do have Wi-Fi, but we ask, and we are live streaming this today, but we ask that if you're here, you don't watch the live stream. I know that sounds like a weird thing, but that actually happens quite a bit, as you'll see people off in the corner watching the video when we're all right here. That actually chokes up the bandwidth, so if you could just be mindful of that, as well as maybe not uploading that CAD file to your Dropbox account right now. That would be appreciated as well, just so we can get a good handle on the Wi-Fi. We've got lots of people here, as you can see. It's a crowded room. We want to make sure everybody has a great day today. Also, we're on Twitter. If you see or hear something that you think is super interesting, super fun, which is going to be pretty much all day long, the hashtag is SmartKitchen15. So please tag your posts appropriately. Also, we want you to visit the sponsor booths in the back. A lot of great sponsors today who helped make this day possible. We've got a tea robot, a coffee robot, and a beer robot. And I think we're setting up a steel cage at the end of the day, and we're going to put them all in and see who wins. Finally, I just wanted to let you know about the bathrooms, which are back and around the corner. So you make kind of a big U. We've been getting a lot of questions about that so far this morning. So that, I think, covers everything. Like I said, you're not here to listen to me. So we're going to bring out Mike Wolf back to the stage, and he's going to be talking with Chris Young, the CEO of ChefSteps. They're going to have a fireside chat on the connected kitchen opportunity. Please welcome Mike and Chris to the stage.
Well, welcome, Chris.
Thanks for having me.
So
Morning, everyone.
I had a chance to talk to Chris, and I go, this guy has to be the guy I open with, because I think you look at this market from a 360-point degree viewpoint. You look at it from all angles, but you put the cook first in a lot of ways. You think about them.
Well, I think that makes sense partly because I suppose classically I'm trained as a professional chef. I worked for nearly 5 years at the Fat Duck in England as their head development chef, and then wrote Modernist Cuisine with Nathan. And so my focus is first and foremost coming from the perspective of as a passionate cook, a professional chef, and trying to say what are the types of things that technology or scientific know-how can enable a cook to do.
And when I talk to you, we'll get in a little bit into, I think, some of your skepticism, but which I think is a healthy skepticism. But I think I want to put into context how you use technology, because I think 10 years ago, we didn't have this pervasive amount of online video on YouTube. And you guys make that a central part of what you use in terms of your education. So in a way, you're already using new technology to change the way we educate people to become better cooks.
Well, absolutely. That's actually how ChefSteps founded. It really has to go back to when I started Modernist Cuisine with Nathan, which was in 2007. It's hard to remember what it was like just those short few years ago, of how much, at the time, a really big book was still the best way to disseminate this kind of knowledge and know-how. Fast forward to 2012, when we started ChefSteps, you had YouTube, WordPress, Facebook, and all these other social media tools that I haven't even heard of yet, that enabled a small creative team that was passionate about cooking to share their knowledge and build a community globally. That's really exciting and transformative. So we're huge about technology, and that it allows you to directly interact with other passionate cooks.
Talk a little bit about how you think maybe IoT technology, smart home technology, could possibly change the way people are guided to cook, and then also maybe some of the pitfalls that can bring potentially. Because I think you've thought a little bit about this. We've had some conversations. Mm-hmm. There is going to be these technologies that, in a sense, act as a GPS for cooking. I think that's kind of some of the vision of some folks.
Yep.
So, first of all, what do you think of that, and then maybe some of the things you're a little bit worried about around that?
Well, I'll take the positive side of it first. I'm completely on board with the idea that technology has a deeply important role to play in the kitchen of the future. I mean, right now, a lot of people who try to get people excited to get into the kitchen and cook, they sort of paint the kitchen as this nostalgic place where everything is, hasn't really changed. And to me, that's actually pretty weird, because I think if you want to get more people cooking, there's a really important role for technology where it helps invent new ways to cook. It removes the uncertainty of cooking. It puts the human back at the center of the cooking experience. I mean, if you think about it, every tool we have in the kitchen today that's mainstream, at some point forces the cook to translate their preferences, their desires, into engineering parameters. Should the oven be 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 350? Is it going to be 30 minutes or 45 minutes? What power do I set the microwave to? That's really an inhuman way to cook, and it actually creates a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear, and that's a big barrier to people cooking. So in as much as that technology can come in and provide those sort of turn-by-turn instructions and guide people to successful outcomes, make them feel more in control of their preferences, where the tools adapt to their desires, not the other way around, that's an incredibly exciting idea. The problem is, and this is, I suppose, where I'm a little more pessimistic based on our experience at ChefSteps, right now you have two problems. One, you might have a very cool new technology, but you don't really have a great way of educating passionate cooks about the role it could play in their life, or how they use it, or how they should think about it, or what types of possibilities unlocks. Because you're so focused on building the tool and not building the community that tool is being built for. The alternative possibility is, and I think this just goes back to some of the challenges with hardware, that you're really captive to selling via retail if you want to get mainstream scale. And it's totally unclear to me that retailers know how to talk about this technology, know how to sell this technology, or educate cooks about it. So there's a real chicken and an egg problem. That makes me pessimistic that a lot of the technology we're seeing developed here will ultimately get out to the populace. I think the other side of it, and this is maybe coming back to my perspective as a chef, I see a lot of people trying to put technology on top of a very conventional cooking tool, on top of an oven, on top of a crock pot. And it's because the designers don't have a deep understanding of how cooking works, and so they can't actually imagine and invent new cooking tools that can do things that had never been done before. And so what I'm not seeing, and makes me somewhat, I suppose, sad, is there's not a lot of innovation in terms of tools that make the impossible possible, where you're now able to do something in the kitchen that your mother couldn't do, your grandmother couldn't do, your great-grandmother couldn't do. It's like you want to have tools that are unrecognizable to people from 100 years ago and enable the future of cooking.
But isn't changing behavior, core cooking behavior, and getting beyond, I think, just chefs, to everyday people like myself who don't have your skill sets, it's going to take some time. And I think it's a natural market evolution to kind of learn. And I think, are some of these companies learning through and figuring out what it is, and maybe, you know, a couple years from now we'll see that iPad of the kitchen, or you see what I'm saying? Are we going to get there?
I certainly hope so, and I think so. I think it's going to be filled with challenges. I don't think everyone will make it, but the only way you're going to get started is you're going to create some cool tools, and you have to get it into the hands of people that are passionate about it, and start seeing what they do with it, and then start iterating on those ideas and seeing how it evolves. Right now, I don't see enough of that going on. I don't see enough of people focusing on how do I get this cool tool that I've made, or this cooking technology, into the hands of passionate cooks to see what's possible. We're not iterating fast enough.
Let's put everything in, because we talked a little bit about historical perspectives, and sometimes I feel like, for me at least, it might be hard to figure out what is a fondue machine versus what is a microwave. Because if you look at technology over the past 50 years, clearly the microwave was a massive new invention, but then everyone wants the new bread cooker or the fondue machine as well. But how do you tell the difference?
Well, I think it really comes down to, is it a tool or is it a gadget? The interesting thing is, I think the microwave really is the last technology that became mainstream. But it's 1948 technology. It was commercialized in the 70s, and over the next 30 years it reached mainstream adoption. And it wasn't even the microwave that was critical. It was actually the microwavable meals that really changed our behaviors and the way we cooked. And it's actually somewhat frustrating to me as somebody who loves the microwave that it never reached its full potential, because most people use the add 30 seconds, the add 1 minute. They don't really know how to use it.
That's me, by the way.
That's most people, because the UI is terrible. But the microwave's actually capable of really incredible things, but we never educated the customer of what was really possible, and so we defaulted to certain behaviors. So in my mind, even though it's the last mainstream technology, it never lived up to its full potential. But it did change behavior. Something like the bread machine, that was a gadget. A lot of people made money selling that gadget, but it never really changed the way mainstream America, the mainstream world cooks. So to me, when I look around, you know, ChefSteps is very big on sous vide. I think sous vide has the potential to go that mainstream, but right now, it isn't really realizing that potential. It's trending more towards gadget than it is towards a mainstream tool. I mean, we're trying to do our job in terms of educating a large segment of the world about the possibilities with sous vide, but you're missing a lot of the components. The sous vide ready meals, technology that doesn't create more problems than it solves, technology that's reliable and more tool-like and less gadget-like. So I'm hoping we see that. We'll see. I think it's going to take some time.
Part of the challenge, though, is it goes beyond the actual physical hardware into a conversation of how you supply, like you said, sous vide ready meals. So you got to talk with the suppliers of the food, how that's done, shopping. It's an ecosystem conversation.
Yes, and I think that's why it's going to take years to evolve. There isn't just one company that's going to solve it. You have people that are working on the physical hardware. You have a company like ChefSteps that's really working on the education and the content part. We're not yet seeing the companies that are working on the sous vide ready ingredient parts at the level that I think we should be. There's absolutely going to be a lot of problems with health departments and restrictions around that when people start doing it. But unfortunately, you sort of need all of those pieces to come together for this really to go mainstream. And that did happen with the microwave. It hasn't yet happened with something like sous vide.
What audience you think is more important to kind of fulfill, if you're a technology provider, I think you cater a little bit to people who aspire to be great cooks. But I also think there's just a massively, probably even bigger audience of people just want to be able to make, in their busy lives, good food. Do you cater to both of those, and is the bigger opportunity to reaching those people and help them in the kitchen?
Well, the answer is, in my experience, most people are capable of being both. I mean, I'm a professional
Not mutually
chef. I
exclusive.
know how to cook, but the Pagliacci delivery guy knows where my house is. It depends on what somebody's needs are, and I think that's something we've learned at ChefSteps. Of we have the ambitious, over-the-top recipes, but we also need to have the really quick and easy but still delicious recipes, because there is no, you don't just have people that are just this kind of cook or just that kind of cook. They can be those people on different roles. Your job is to really figure out how are you able to accommodate them in all of those situations.
Hey, Chris, thanks for chatting with me, man.
Thank you.
Chris?